Hello and welcome to Annie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Ghostly Whisper. The night air over the Isle of Wight was cold and still as Holly Arnold locked the door to her quaint cottage. Its timber-framed walls seemed to breathe with the passing wind, creaking as if murmuring secrets. Holly had lived there for only a month, eager to escape the bustle of mainland life after inheriting the house from her late grandmother, Evelyn. It was a charming but lonely retreat on the island's outskirts, perched on a hill overlooking the sea. That night, as she curled up in her armchair with the tattered book, a sound tickled her ears. It wasn't the wind, nor the rustle of leaves outside. It was closer, softer. A whisper. At first, Holly dismissed it as a trick of her tired mind. But then it came again, distinct and deliberate. "Holly, you shouldn't have come here." The voice was faint, raspy, and undeniably real. She froze, her heart pounding. "Who's there?" she called. Silence. She clutched her phone and dialed the local constable, but the call dropped. The car's isolation meant poor reception. With a flashlight in hand, she combed the rooms, her steps echoing on the wooden floors. No one was there. The whispering persisted over the next week. It was no longer random. It came from specific places: the attic, the cellar, the dusty corners of rooms she avoided exploring. The voices grew louder, more insistent. They called her name, pleaded for her attention. Sometimes they wept. One night Holly followed the whispers to the attic. The narrow staircase groaned under her weight as she ascended. The air grew colder, carrying the scent of mildew and decay. She pushed open the attic door, the hinges screaming in protest. There, under a slanted beam of moonlight, she found an old trunk covered in dust. Its brass lock was rusted, but the lid lifted with surprising ease. Inside were faded photographs, yellowed letters, and a diary bound in cracked leather. The photographs depicted her grandmother as a young woman, but Holly noticed something peculiar. Evelyn was often accompanied by a man with hollow eyes and a crooked smile. The diary revealed the man's name: Victor Harrow, a local tradesman, and something darker. Evelyn had been engaged to Victor, but he was abusive and controlling. Desperate to escape, Evelyn conspired with her family to fake her death. On the night of their wedding, she fled, leaving Victor waiting at the altar. Humiliated and enraged, he disappeared, only to be found weeks later at the bottom of the cliffs near the cottage, his body broken on the jagged rocks below. Holly's blood ran cold as she turned the final page. Scribbled in Evelyn's trembling hand was a chilling confession: Victor's death wasn't an accident. I pushed him. He promised he'd haunt me forever, but I couldn't let him live. If you're reading this, Holly, he'll haunt you too. A gust of icy wind swept through the attic, extinguishing her flashlight. The whispers erupted into a cacophony of voices, all of them screaming Victor's name. Suddenly, Holly felt a hand on her shoulder. She spun around, but no one was there. The attic door slammed shut, trapping her inside. A shadow emerged from the corner, tall and menacing. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its crooked smile sent a wave of nausea through her. "Evelyn took everything from me." Its voice was Victor's, layered with malice and sorrow. "And now, you'll pay the debt." She ducked, throwing the diary at it, but the shadow passed through her, leaving a searing cold in its wake. The whispers rose to a deafening roar, filling her mind with visions of Victor's fall, his body twisting in the air, the rocks below stained red. Desperate, Holly remembered an old tale her grandmother used to tell: spirits bound by vengeance could be appeased by closure. She grabbed the diary and tore down the attic stairs, sprinting to the cliffs where Victor had died. Under the full moon, Holly stood at the edge, the sea crashing below. "Victor, I know what happened. Evelyn is gone, but I'm here to make things right. The lies. There is no peace for me." Holly threw the diary into the ocean. As it sank beneath the waves, the shadow let out an anguished cry. It flickered, its form dissolving like smoke in the wind. The whispers stopped. The air grew warm again, and the island was silent. Holly returned to the cottage, shaken but alive. She never heard the whispers again, but the weight of her family's dark secret lingered. Though the island's beauty remained, she could never fully escape the haunting reminder of the past, proof that even in death, some debts are never truly paid. Holly tried to move on, but the events of that night haunted her waking moments. She poured herself into restoring the cottage, hoping to erase the lingering fear with fresh paint and new life. Yet, no matter how much she cleaned or renovated, she could not shake the feeling of being watched. The locals, eager to be friendly, often shared stories about the area. One evening, at the small village pub, an elderly man named Arthur leaned in close and whispered, "Strange things happen near your cottage, Miss Arnold. Folks say the cliffs are cursed. You seen anything odd?" Holly hesitated. She had told no one about Victor's ghost or her grandmother's dark secret. "Just the wind," she lied. Arthur nodded knowingly. "The wind carries stories, lass. Be careful what you listen to." That night, he stood at the edge of the cliffs, his back to her, but his reflection appeared in the crashing waves below. His face was twisted in pain, his mouth moving in silent screams. She woke in a cold sweat, her heart racing. The whispers were back. They were different this time, softer, more sorrowful. They didn't call her name, but instead repeated a single phrase, the child, the child. Holly tried to ignore it, but curiosity gnawed at her. She returned to the attic, determined to search through every item she had overlooked. Beneath the trunk she found a hidden compartment containing another journal, this one belonging to Victor himself. The entries were erratic, filled with ramblings about Evelyn and his obsession with her. One entry, written in shaky handwriting, stood out. "She took everything from me, even the child, our child. Evelyn will pay, and so will the blood that follows her." Holly's hands trembled. She had never heard of a child. She searched through the letters and photos again, looking for clues, and found a birth certificate folded among the papers. The name was faded, but it was unmistakable: Evelyn Harrow. Victor and Evelyn had a child. Determined to uncover the truth, Holly visited the island's records office. After hours of digging, she pieced together the story. Evelyn had indeed given birth to Victor's child, but had given her up for adoption after fleeing the abusive relationship. The child, a girl, had grown up on the mainland, far from the Isle of Wight. Holly's grandmother had carried the guilt of abandoning her daughter for the rest of her life. The whispers grew louder as Holly returned home. The shadows in the corners of the cottage seemed to stretch toward her, reaching with invisible fingers. She felt Victor's rage, but also something else: grief. Standing in the living room, Holly spoke aloud. Victor, if you're here, I know the truth. Evelyn kept your child safe by sending her away, but the pain you caused her, that wasn't right." A figure materialized before her, more solid than before. Victor's spectral form loomed, his eyes full of torment. "She took my family. She took everything. And what will your vengeance bring? Nothing. The child lived, and so did Evelyn. You can't undo what's been done. Let go." His expression shifted from anger to sorrow. "The child," he murmured. "But she's gone now too. But you can move on, be free of this place for a long moment." Then, as if carried by an unseen wind, his form began to dissipate. His glowing eyes dimmed, and his twisted smile softened. The whispers faded. The cottage fell silent. In the days that followed, Holly felt an unfamiliar lightness. The air was no longer heavy with dread, and the shadows seemed less oppressive. She stayed on the island, determined to honor the lives intertwined with her own. Though she never saw Victor again, Holly would often hear the faint sound of waves crashing against the cliffs, a soothing reminder that even the most restless spirits could find peace. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.